Implement the mandatory vaccination for on-site workers? That big question and more with Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello. Good evening, Secretary Bello.
Good evening. Good evening, sir.
Sir, before yung may proposal, no work, no pay, kung hindi bakunado, that brought up a lot of controversy. How are you seeing the acceptance by the labor sector of this new policy?
Yes, Robbie and Gretchen, this no vaccine, no pay is not a legal policy. You cannot deprive a worker of his pay because of his not being vaccinated. That is very clear. Because, as I have been saying, we are in a democratic country and everybody has the right of free choice. Kung gusto niya magpabakuna, well and good. Kung ayaw niya magpabakuna, hindi mo siya pwedeng pilitin. And that is the reason why if we want people to be vaccinated, then we must have a law that will mandate everybody to undergo vaccination. That's the only way to make vaccination mandatory.
Okay. In the meantime, mukhang ito po yung compromise proposal sa ngayon na ayun nga po, kung ayaw magpabakuna, edi wag, pero sagot mo ang sarili mong test. You have now a lot of workers saying, aba, mahal yun. Ay, what do you say to these concerns, sir?
Well, that's what we call disincentivizing yung mga ayaw magpabakuna. Pwede mong i-incentivize, pwede mo ding disincentivize. And that's one way of disincentivizing those workers who refuse to be vaccinated. Kung ayaw mo magpabakuna, okay, well and good. Pero para makapasok ka, kailangan PCR test ka at your own expense.
Okay.
That's a legal policy po.
But listening to the details as outlined by Secretary Roque kanina, you do qualify, government does qualify, this will only apply to areas where there is adequate supply of vaccines and access to the vaccines. So we would presume po, ang kabuuang NCR covered by this, and then outside of NCR, how do people make that determination as to whether or not categorically may access sa vaccines dito sa amin?
Yun na nga, that's where the problem is. How do we determine the the sufficiency of the supply of the vaccine to make it mandatory? Yun ang unang-una ko sinasabi ko noon, na bakit nyo ginagawang mandatory na wala naman tayong supply? Pag meron na tayo talagang supply, and regular and sufficient supply, then we can already consider making it mandatory through legislation. Pero kung gano'n ang gusto, just to disincentivize, it will do a lot of explanation. Sabihin nila sa'yo, ayaw magpabakuna. Sabihin, bakit ako magpabakuna? Wala namang bakuna. So, this is now a matter of a discussion resulting from a policy. So, ang sa tingin ko lang, the best pa rin is until we have sufficient supply of vaccine, let vaccination be optional.
But does that mean, sir, just to be clear, you're anticipating na ang gusot at gulo dito is going to be on that debate as to whether or not there is, in fact, objectively sufficient supply in a particular area?
That's correct, Robbie. That's correct. Kasi how can you go against a person who says, I want to be vaccinated, but I don't see any vaccine around? So how do you penalize a guy like that? He says, I want to be vaccinated, and I want to be vaccinated just to comply with your requirement. But there is no vaccine. So what happens? Can you penalize the guy?
Okay. Maraming salamat po. That was Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello.